Hello, and welcome to a lecture about lateral thinking by theorist Edward de Bono. The purpose of this e-lecture is to describe and inform the learner about a learning theory called lateral thinking. By the end of this lecture, you should be able to describe lateral thinking theory and its core principles, differentiate between lateral thinking and the commonly used vertical thinking theory, and acknowledge the importance of lateral thinking in a rapidly changing world. Lateral thinking was created by Edward de Bono in 1967. He asked learners to break free of constrained and pre-established thought patterns by using this method. This is done by looking at a problem in a new and often unusual light, by training our minds to think creatively. This is important as information dissemination in a technologically innovative world demands independent and nuanced thinking for solutions. For example, educators once only had to teach learners to navigate a library. Now they must educate students general technological skills for multimodal research. The core principles of lateral thinking are to break free of pre-established thought patterns by training creativity. For example, brainstorming. Even seemingly unrelated topics can be relatable afterwards. As such, you thus have to refine those new ideas and select those that are relevant afterwards. Lastly, you arrive at nuanced solutions to a given problem by thinking creatively. Vertical thinking is useful for teaching concepts. It is constrained, however, by pre-established thought patterns, sequencing, and hierarchies. It is thus a cognitivist approach in that it requires the learner to expand on previously learned concepts, building with complexity. The objective is a clearly defined and pre-established learning outcome and behaviors. As such, it is also behavioralist in many ways, as specific outcomes and taught behaviors are expected post-lesson. Lateral thinking does not require a predefined outcome or sequential learning process. Instead, the learner engages in a critical and constructivist method by learning how to think rather than what to think. They can thus apply their knowledge to many different situations. For example, we are currently experiencing the desertification of land due to technology-based practices such as soil compaction by tractors and chemical fertilizers' impact on soil biology. A vertical solution would say that we should rely on technology for a solution, for instance, applying more fertilizer. A lateral thinking solution, on the other hand, would use alternatives to technology for the technologically induced problem. For example, permaculture relies on plants to feed each other by nutrient cycling. This, however, falls out of the capitalist-driven profit maximization approach to agriculture that is most common. With that said, vertical thinking is still very important to making cognitive sense of the world around us. In the last example, the permaculture-based solution was created by thinking laterally and with nuanced ideas. However, the core concepts of nutrient cycling, plant phenology, and so forth were likely taught vertically, and through a cognitive approach. This allows the learners to make sense of the scientific principles before applying them to a nuanced solution or lateral thought process. As a result, vertical thinking supplements lateral thinking's missing components, for instance, ideas that require scientific and sequential learning. Complete this exercise to differentiate between two examples, which uses vertical thinking and which uses lateral. 1. An instructor shows you how to use Microsoft Word and asks you to produce a document following a template, producing one previously planned outcome. 2. An instructor asks you to explore Microsoft Word and for each student to share with the class their challenges and successes, producing a variety and likely some unexpected results from the entire class. Number 2 is correct. Notice the difference in outcomes between the two examples. The most important challenge for lateral thinking is a pedagogical one, in that it asks instructors to use nuanced and student-led learning objects and methods. However, with the rise of constructivist approaches to learning, new materials to support lateral thinking are being created every day. In addition, as we have noted, thinking outside the box is necessary for human survival given the gravity of some ecological and political issues we are facing today. In summary, lateral thinking is both an alternative and a complementary learning theory to vertical thinking. Lateral thinking asks us for creativity, innovation, and critical thinking. This way of thinking has never been so important in a world that now changes every day. We require out-of-the-box solutions to a large variety of issues. Thank you for listening. I hope you can now use lateral thinking in your life to constructively solve problems. Please feel free to email me should you have any questions at example@uvic.ca.